Former FEMA director, of course, was there 7 years ago tomorrow when we remember Katrina. And he knows a thing or two about storms a lot of folks are not prepared for that end up being a lot more serious than we thought. Certainly, Michael, as you and I have discussed many times, that was the original guesstimation on Katrina. We know in retrospect anything but. Anything in this storm, or at least you hear from the preparedness ahead of it, that worries you or raises concerns?
Well, just what Jeff said, and that's the size of the storm. My guess is, I'm not a meteorologist, but it probably won't get to a Category 3 level, which would present some serious concerns. But because of the size of the storm, we're probably going to have a lot of heavy flooding, a lot of heavy rain. The good news, though, Neil, is 4 words: Mitch Landrieu and Bobby Jindal. Both of those guys have already declared states of emergency in New Orleans and in Louisiana. They're paying attention to it. They're doing the things that local officials need to do. So even if there is a lot of flooding and a lot of rain, those guys are on top of it, and I say kudos to them.
You know, Michael, you and I also have chatted about this before, that it becomes an issue of who's on first, who's in charge. We certainly had the case, you know, in New Orleans, a mayor who didn't seem up to speed, a governor who was at cross points with the mayor and with the president. No one knew who was in charge. Is there a clear chain of command for disasters such as these and what might or might not come of it? A lot of the governors of those states directly affected, including the governor of this fine state, and you mentioned Bobby Jindal in Louisiana, have opted to stay in their states. Is that the line of command right at the governor's door, or what is the order?
That is the chain of command, and that's why I'm so proud of these guys for having done what they were supposed to do, and that should have been done 7 years ago. And that is take charge of their state and basically say to FEMA and Homeland Security, here's what we are doing. Here may be some areas where you could help us. And DHS should basically be in, which I know they are, in constant contact with the local guys and with the governor, and then move everything in and be ready to move on a moment's notice. When the state or when the governor say we need X, Y, or Z, then you help them with X, Y, or Z. If they do that, and if DHS doesn't muddle things up, the response should be perfect this time.
You're talking about the Department of Homeland Security. That to me just seems like a whole nother layer of madness. But you're much more up on this, Michael, than I am. Yeah.
It is another layer of madness, and I think what I'm reading in the newsprint, what I'm hearing from people in the system that are talking to me, they're saying that at this point Napolitano has really given the reins of this to Craig Fugate, which is where it belongs. And as long as they stay out of the way and let these people coordinate, it should be okay.
Real quickly, you were the first to warn 4 years ago about these levees that no one really had much discussed, and whether they could hold up under a storm of any severity.
Right.
Those levees have been repaired to the tune of billions of dollars. If, God forbid, we're looking at something severe to hit just that area, is it ready this go-around?
I don't know. I mean, Neil, that's the 64 million. Actually, it's a $15 billion question, because that's what the Army Corps of Engineers has spent. So we're going to find out. Now, they've done some of the flood protection measures that should have been done decades ago, so I think that's a good sign. The best bet is that this storm stays below a Category 3, because if it gets to be a 3 or larger, even that $15 billion investment is not going to do much. It depends on the storm.
Well put. Well put. Well put. Michael Brown, former FEMA director. Thank you, Michael, as always.
Thank you, Neil.